Hey guys, it's Randomator9 and today I'm going to be giving you guys the complete guide to anime dungeon fighters if you want to get stronger and level up faster. But before we get into it, please remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, and let's get straight into the video. So the first thing I want to go over is the equipment you want to use. So none of this honestly really matters except for the gloves. So obviously the best equipment, you just want to use the best possible equipment that you can. And but for the weapon, you want to be using the gloves because out of any weapon, it gives the most attack stat. So for example, the sword and the pistol would deal less damage than the glove if they were the same like level and rarity, of course. But yeah, that's basically all you need to know for which equipment you should be using. In Worlds 1 and 2, knowing this, you can just open these eggs with the coins that you get from dungeons and quests or whatever. You can use those coins and open these eggs to get better gloves based on just whatever level you are. So if you just got to level 20, for example, you can immediately just start opening these gloves and get a really high rarity glove, like for example these mysterious gloves, and use them in this dungeon, which would make it a lot easier because you're dealing a lot more damage than normal. Next is the fruit that you should be using. So you never actually want to be fighting with whatever weapon that you have. You want to fight with these fruits. And if you go over here into the summon place and this bar, you can see whatever this rotation every 30 minutes, I believe. It rotates into a different, or maybe hour, it rotates to a different immortal fruit. But basically, you either want to be using the love fruit or immortal fruits. The best fruit in the game, in my opinion, actually, is the love fruit. If you are mostly auto fighting, which is what I do, then the love fruit is the best. But when you're PvPing or manual farming, then you want to be using the Buddha fruit, which is a fruit that was currently in that rotation. If you go over here to the teleport, you can see the PvP area. If it would load, requires level 40, and yeah, there it is. The PvP area requires level 40, and there it is. That's the Buddha fruit is the best for that place and manual fighting. So next, I'm going to be talking about heroes. And here is a list of every immortal and mysterious hero in the entire game. So these are all the passive buffs that it gives. You only get the heroes for the passive buffs, to be honest. The fighting that it helps you with isn't that useful. And the best hero in the game, I think, in my opinion, would be the Zaruto pet or hero right here, because it gives 10% extra experience. But the other ones like Saber and the Shun Dark Lord also give plus 6% attack, so that's also really good. If you can't get immortal heroes or it's too hard for you, you might only be able to get the serious heroes. They also give passive buffs, but they're not definitely not as good. And if you didn't know, you can get those heroes in the same place you get fruits, in that bar right there, the summon right there in this hero summon. Next, I want to talk about the skill points. Basically, you can use these skill points that you get from leveling up your weapons to level up the abilities on those weapons. But it does cost gems once you get to certain levels. So here I'm at level 6. I have to break it, and then I can level it up with those skill points. And once you get it to level 10, that is the max level. So I don't really recommend breaking them for gems until you basically are in the late game and you just have a bunch of excess gems lying around and you're not using them. But yeah, I don't really recommend this until later stages of the game when you just have useless gems sitting around. Following the skill points, I want to talk about the level points, which these are honestly are not that useful. It doesn't really matter what you put them in because it doesn't make much of a difference. I just put them all in attack. One, because I just like dealing more damage, and two, because I have the most multipliers in my attack buff. But if you see here, you can see total stats. You see here right now I have 1.72 billion attack, and if I unequip my gloves, then I can see here I only have 250 or 260, I guess, million attack. Um, so yeah, it basically all just comes from the glove. And just another example would be my defense, 135 million defense. I unequip the stone coat that I wear, and I only have 3 million. So yeah, a lot less once I unequip the equipment. I mean, but yeah, these skill points don't really contribute to your stats that much. So I would still just recommend putting them all in attack because usually you would have the most multipliers in the attack. You can get titles by going into the solo leveling world and completing this Magic Beast dungeon by, and however far like of a wave you get, that's the title you'll get. And I have the best title, but this is only for the early game because if you see here, this only gives 1k attack. And if I go back to my equipment, you can see this gives 1.3 billion attack. So yeah, this is basically nothing now in the late game, but in the early game, this 1000 attack definitely helped. For the aura that you should be using, some of these do the same thing. Like the Comet does the same thing as Void, and Eclipse does the same thing as Easter Egg. So you don't need multiple of them because you can't equip multiple at the same time. But I just use the Easter Egg one because I'm prioritizing leveling up right now, and I don't really need attack. So if the best one for you is attack, then use that one. It's just whatever you want to use. I recommend attack in the earlier stages of the game, and late game I recommend level XP. Now for the rest of this stuff in the more section, these honestly don't really matter. You don't have to worry about them. So yeah, let's move on. Next is cosmetics, which you can get cosmetics by going to this cosmetic shop or going to this merchant right here. But it's honestly pretty hard to get good cosmetics unless you do it by get them from events, which the current one right now is a season 4. It gives you cosmetics for leveling up through this like pass, this Easter pass or whatever. But I recommend using attack or defense cosmetics based on like if you were in the earlier game stages of the game. But if you're in the later stages of the game, I recommend using level XP cosmetics. Now for the shop, if you do want to spend Robux on this game, I would recommend getting the VIP Premium Pass. And if you really have the Robux, then you can spend it on extra loot. But these three fast hatch, triple hatch, money bonus are basically useless. They're not going to help you that much. And the extra loot might help you like some, but honestly, it doesn't like change the game that much. The VIP and Premium Pass definitely can be pretty useful, and they're pretty cheap too. So yeah, if you want to spend Robux, these are the game passes that you should be buying. Now the part that everybody wants to know, leveling up quickly. So obviously, once you reach level 20, you'll be able to talk to this guy for a free XP boost. And yeah, obviously you just want to talk to him, get the free XP boost and whatever. And every 24 hours, it'll give you an extra hour of free XP boost, and it can stack. So if you haven't collected it in 3 days, which is what I've done, it'll give 3 hours of 2 times the XP. And what that does is whenever you're in a dungeon or you're in the AFK portal, you'll be getting 2 times the amount of experience. Now, what you should actually be doing to level up is fighting the best dungeon that you possibly can. So, for if you're manually grinding, then obviously it'll be better than auto fighting because if you're auto fighting, it's just really efficient. It uses abilities super inefficiently, and it just stands still and hits them. While if you're manually fighting, you can like run away while hitting them at the same time and use your abilities on big groups of enemies. So it doesn't like waste them like how the auto fight does them. But I can understand using the auto fight because once you get later into the game, leveling up takes a lot longer. So you might just have to or you might just have to auto fight something like a lower difficulty. Like if you can manually beat hell, that doesn't mean you can auto fight hell. You might just have to auto fight hard and just settle with that to level up. Now, you might have noticed this forge in the worlds that you're in. But if you talk to him, you can see that you can forge cosmetics with with some of these materials that you can either get from defense mode, and this one just by hatching or summoning heroes, and this one is even harder because it costs 50,000 gems, and another immortal hero and an immortal cosmetics. So yeah, they all cost different stuff, but they do give really good boosts, but they're really difficult to get. So honestly, I wouldn't recommend trying to get these. If you can, obviously, and you like have the Robux or whatever, if you can somehow get these, then obviously they'll help you a lot. But I recommend just using the season pass or whatever event is out in the game that's giving strong cosmetics. Now for enchanting, if you see on my glove and on my hero, I don't really have that strong of enchantments. If I talk to this person, you can see that it's really hard to get these. I don't really have that many, and so yeah, I just settle with either legendary or mysterious enchantments because getting anything like higher than that is really rare. And for my weapon, this is the one for my weapon, 5% extra attack. Like that already took a 3.5% chance. Like an immortal would take way too much. And if you do have the Robux or whatever like materials that you do have to get an immortal or mysterious enchantment, obviously go for it because it'll help you more. But if you're like free to play or it's just you don't have that much magic dust or enchanting dust, then I just recommend settling with a legendary or mysterious enchantment. Now I want to talk about the easiest way to be clearing dungeons. So you might notice that once you do reach the level requirement for a dungeon or its difficulty, you still might not be able to beat it just because it's a really difficult dungeon. So for the early stages of the game, for World 1 and 2, you can do this. You can, again, I said earlier in the video, you can open these eggs and get super good gloves to give a super high attack stat, and you'll be able to clear the dungeon a lot easier. So let's go over here to the village as an example. Once you reach level 40, all of these eggs are unlocked and the dungeon is also unlocked, but you might notice that beating the easy version of the village like instantly when you got to level 40 might be really difficult. So instead, you can use your coins and get these gas gloves or maybe even bondage gloves, and they give you a super high attack boost for how much for like your level, and you'll be able to beat this dungeon a lot easier. So this is only applicable to Worlds 1 and 2 because here I am in World 3 and there aren't any eggs for any of the dungeons because they just haven't added that to the game yet. So if we go to any of the dungeons, you can see there aren't eggs for any weapons near any of them. So yeah, you can't do this in World 3, but what I recommend for players in World 3 and maybe even later World 2, because the dungeons do start to get really difficult, is instead of auto fighting, which you're probably doing, most players will auto fight when they get into the later stages of the game, just because manually doing it takes starts taking a long time because of just the XP requirements to level up take a lot more. But back to what I was talking about. So basically, what you want to do is you want to beat the best dungeon that you can manually, because usually that's better. That would be better or a higher difficulty than you can with whatever you're auto fighting with. And if you see here, all of the dungeons have different types of loot that you can get. The harder the difficulty of the dungeon, obviously, the better the loot it'll give you. So whatever you get from, let's say you can auto fight and beat easy and normal, but you can't beat hard, but you can beat hard manually, which is usually what happens to you once you get to World 3. You would need to beat hard manually a few times and get good loot, or else you'll never be able to auto fight hard. And then once you auto fight this, once you get some good loot, you can start just auto fighting it again and getting the rest of the best equipment from here. And then with that, you can start manually beating the hell mode, and maybe if you're lucky, get some of the mysterious equipment, or if not, you just can get better equipment from the legendaries or whatever legendary chance drops. But Eventually you should start being getting better or good enough loot to auto fight the hell mode, and then again you get to the next world and just repeat the same process until basically you've gotten to the last dungeon. Again, this strategy should only apply to like super late World 2 players or World 3 players, because in World 1 and 2, it's a lot easier to beat the dungeons because, again, you also have that. The dungeons are just easier, and you have those eggs that you can get better weapons off of from the start, and you don't have to beat the dungeon at all. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope this helps, and if it did, or you just enjoyed the commentary, please remember to like, subscribe, comment down below. I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.